Mr. Musk.
I have to what?
Including a lot of Democrats.
I have detractors?
You do, sir.
I don't believe it.
Say that you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public.
I'd like everyone to take a look at how dystopian this image is. A private citizen is practically running the United States government in certain key aspects simply because he is wealthy and a mega donor to Donald Trump, who is the most openly corrupt president in history. Thus, comedian Bill Burr has had enough.
This is so the amount of people that are struggling out there because of these fucking billionaires, and they got us all arguing liberal and conservative. We got to stop doing that.
Completely agree. The problem is a large portion of MAGA do not care to pay heed to the alarm bells that have been sounded and continue going off. Look, it takes two to tango here. My question would be this: what is your best course of action in reaching them? There are ways, but I'm open to Burr's.
The White House says that you will identify and excuse yourself from any conflicts of interest that you may have. Does that mean that you are in effect policing yourself? What are the checks and balances that are in place to ensure that there is accountability and transparency?
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, our actions, we post our actions to the Doge handle on X and to the Doge website. So all of our actions are maximally transparent. In fact, I don't think there's been, I don't know of a case where an organization has been more transparent than the Doge organization.
None of this is true. Musk, the pathetic man-child he is, held court in the Oval while Donald Trump acted as babysitter to Elon's child. Musk will post routinely without proof, without links, without sources, and claim his word is true. It's insane that he has a seat at the table, considering he is a walking conflict of interest, being of course that he's a government contractor.
Like, I am so tired of hearing about people going to bed worried about what's going to happen next week. There is so much fucking money in this country. And there's so much work being done, you know. And if you work a full fucking week at a job, you should be able to pay your fucking rent. You shouldn't have to go out and get another fucking job and still be struggling. It's bad for the country, because then the kids don't see their parents and they're not getting the upbringing that they need.
Meanwhile, Bill Burr is calling these guys out routinely because he knows, like we all do, this is not healthy for the country. People should not be struggling just so Elon can get another yacht or jet or presidency. We are struggling every single day. Elders aren't retiring. Parents are working multiple jobs to afford groceries that have never been more costly. It is a up system that is working to perfection for Trump and Musk, but not for you and me.
Democracy. This may seem like, well, aren't we in a democracy? Well, if you don't have a feedback loop, FAX, you would have to, if you sorry. So, I tell you, gravitas can be difficult sometimes. If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have?
Irony is dead, ladies and gentlemen. Let's also discuss how Elon uses his child as a human shield time and time again. Yet very few will acknowledge this in government. It's cowardly, which is perfectly fitting for Elon Musk.
So these fucking billionaires, they need to be put down. You know, like fucking rabid dogs. They're like rabid with fucking greed and just going out and just dividing everybody.
His words, not ours, though he has carried this same tune through his media appearances over the past year.
Mexico's really in trouble, a lot of trouble. Very dangerous place. And we're going to be announcing at a future date pretty soon. We're going to change, because we do most of the work there and it's ours. We're going to be changing, sort of the opposite of Biden, where he's closing everything up, essentially getting rid of $50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate. And Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country. They can stop them. And we're going to put very serious tariffs on Mexico and Canada, because Canada, they come through Canada too, and the drugs that are coming through are at record numbers.
Just beyond parody, beyond stupid. Yet it fits the billing of who this man is. A bigoted piece of flesh that people support. It's insane.
Just the fucking epitome of this time right now. Like how divisive we are, that the Gulf of Mexico is now called the Gulf of America, and people get excited. Like, how the fuck does that help your wallet? It's an empty gesture, and then it's also like a racist gesture. Like, that's the white guy that's him saying fuck Mexicans without saying it. You know, like, who has a fucking problem with Mexicans? Like, what is the real problem? This is just such an ugly fucking time. Yeah, that just sucks. That sucks. People fucking broke.
Bingo. It is racist. It's ridiculous. Trump has proven to hate brown people. He's proven to hate Mexicans. He's proven to hate black people. He's proven to hate Muslim people. His favorite color is white, and he's the embodiment of a man whose father got arrested at a Klan rally. So Donald Trump wanted everyone to know he was making an appearance at the Super Bowl. This was the reception. Each video that we have seen of Trump, quite honestly, it depends on the section. For example, when the national anthem was played by John Batiste, Fox cut to Trump on the Jumbotron. It started with cheers, which was then met with boos.
You really have a great quarterback. The other team, the quarterback really knows how to win. He is a great, great quarterback.
So game prediction?
I hate to do it. I just say that I've watched this great quarterback who has, by the way, a phenomenal wife, okay? She's a Trump fan. She's a MAGA fan, so I happen to love her, okay? But she's a great person. I watched her being interviewed. I said, boy, that's pretty good. But she's great, and he's great. I guess you have to say that when a quarterback wins as much as he's won, I have to go with Kansas City.
Propaganda news outlet Fox showed Trump applauding Patrick Mahomes. Speaking of, Jackson Mahomes, Pat's brother, made an appearance and went back to doing his cringe dances in NFL stadiums. At the end, he'd stick his tongue out. And speaking of smooching, here was Jackson Mahomes with the president, Donald Trump. They have a lot in common, don't they? Lest we forget, Jackson Mahomes is, in my view, single-handedly the reason one business owner lost a restaurant in the Kansas City area. In this disturbing video, Jackson can be seen with Aspen Vaughn, who owns the establishment. Mahomes would grab Vaughn's neck multiple times and kiss her over and over again. As he did it, it's clear she's not interested and tries pulling away. There would be an interruption of, let's say, about 10 seconds. Then Jackson Mahomes would go in again, grabbing her by the neck area, kissing her. Afterwards, Mahomes goes out of view. Vaughn would suffer abuse and post on Facebook that the restaurant would be shutting its doors. Jackson Mahomes would be sentenced to 6 months probation. Hey guys, quick break in the action. I have a new show coming out called The Rick Strom Show. It is going to be awesome. I'm interviewing musicians, athletes, producers, writers, journalists, authors, sports doctors. Go check it out at youtube.com/@TheRickStrom Show. Also be sure to throw me a follow on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. It can all be found in the description box below. Thank you. And yet, surprisingly enough, or not, of course, Trump, being the fragile little man-child that he is, tried to deflect the booing, and he posted on Truth Social. Shout out to Devin Nunes, by the way. You're doing a great job. With a photo of himself next to his daughter, Ivanka, who he wants to date, cheering on the boos Taylor Swift received. I'd like to be clear about something. Taylor Swift was booed from the video that I saw. This could be a combination of a few things. The first is Eagles fans. She's a former Eagles supporter. Eagles fans don't like her. The second is there are many Taylor Swift haters who are football fans. There's a lot of machismo men who are like, oh, the girls are coming into our spaces and she's having the girls come into our football spaces. I don't like it. And the third is probably the MAGA crowd. I don't think that if you show Taylor Swift outside of Arrowhead Stadium that she's going to get a ton of cheers. And that's speaking objectively. Then there was Elon Musk who said vibe shift is real in reference to Trump, as they have to put it, getting cheered while Swift was getting booed. On another note,
make America great again. Let's do it.
Then there's Randy Mahomes, the mother of Patrick. Randy, big Trump supporter. And she would rock her MAGA hat at Arrowhead Stadium. Mind you, this is the same crowd that demands politics and sports be separate.
Make America great again. Let's do it.
Then there's Randy Mahomes, the mother of Patrick. Randy, big Trump supporter. And she would rock her MAGA hat at Arrowhead Stadium. Mind you, this is the same crowd that demands politics and sports be separate.
Well, I actually like Mrs. I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. She couldn't. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it at the in the marketplace. But no, I like Brittany. I think Brittany's great. Brittany got a lot of news last week. She's a big MAGA fan. That's the one I like much better than Taylor Swift.
Pat's significant other, Brittany Mahomes, has come out in support of Project 2025 and Donald Trump. He's tried to play it down, too.
Former President Trump referenced you and your family again today on Fox News in relation to his campaign. I just wonder what your reaction is to seeing that.
Yeah, I think I've always said I don't want my place and my platform to be used to endorse a candidate or do whatever. Either way, I think my place is to inform people to get registered to vote. It's to inform people to do their own research and then make their best decision for them and their family. And so I think that's every time I'm on this stage and I get asked these questions, I'm going to refer back to that because I think that's what makes America so great.
Considering what we know, it would be the least shocking anecdote of Mahomes' career, who's on track to become a billionaire at some point in life, that he is anti-Trump. My guess is he's for it. On the flip side,
Why do you feel about Trump attending the Super Bowl?
Because he's welcome to do what he wants. Thank you.
Is there added pressure with Trump attending?
No, man.
Philadelphia Eagles quarterback and Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts shows how to answer a question about a fascist correctly while also keeping it moving.
And Trump being the first president to attend, is there any added pressure, any excitement?
Man, you know, that's who the world voted. So that's who's our president.
Yes, sir.
As did veteran wideout DeAndre Hopkins, who played in his first Super Bowl. So here are my closing thoughts on this. All right. I don't think Donald Trump got booed as much as he got cheered, but there were certain videos that show him getting booed. There are some doctored videos as well that I came across, and it is not lost on me how media illiterate some people are. Clearly a track of boos being played over and over and over again, and it got retweeted thousands of times. That is part of the misinformation platform that Elon Musk enabled and appreciates. Speaking of, really interesting that the man who, in my opinion, did a Nazi salute, unfollowed the man who is promoting Nazism on his new Yeezy.com website, Kanye West. That was prior to Ye getting off of his nuking his account. There's something else that's not lost on me. When the game was out of reach for the Kansas City Chiefs, Donald Trump left. He left. I'm not shocked by this in the slightest, because he has come out as an adamant Kansas City Chiefs supporter. He has gone to bat for Brittany Mahomes. He has gone to bat for Patrick Mahomes. The Hunt family, the owners of the Chiefs, donate heavily to Donald Trump's campaign. They align with the fascists. So him leaving when Jalen Hurts is quite clearly anti-Trump, along with many other Philadelphia Eagles, not surprising that he couldn't take it. It's more par for the course, which he also can't do with his favorite sport.
They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. And then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? These are people that are, I mean, actually, their lives are shortened because of the stress that they have. Brilliant people have to be in those positions.
After the recent flux of airplane crashes, the President of the United States blamed diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. He is incompetent. He is a goof, a lunatic, and unqualified.
Regardless of whoever you like and whoever you disagree with, this particular situation, it should have been a we thing, like, hey, we got to see what happened. We got to see what went wrong. Was it a mechanical thing? It's a human error. It's not a particular person error. I mean, it takes a whole bunch of people to mess up. But what if it was a mechanical error? You know? I just thought that was pretty f***ed up. Because when he keeps saying DEI, it's almost like saying, well, if there were white men, if we were all white, it would have been fine, white men. But the white men were pilots. The pilots were white men. But we're not blaming them. They're human beings. All the plane crashes that have happened over decades, who do we blame? I would blame white pilots because your hiring practices didn't allow black pilots, didn't allow women, didn't allow Asian pilots, Latin pilots. So I would blame white men for all of those other crashes because of your practices in hiring different qualified people. We can do that, but that would be a horrible thing to do. But that's what you're doing.
Godfrey, one of my favorite comedians, gets serious on the matter and is clearly fed up with Trump's practices at the podium.
Do you believe that women and minority pilots are inherently less intelligent and less skilled than white male pilots?
No, I'm just saying that we should not lower the standards for them.
Okay. But there's no evidence that standards are being lowered when it comes to the airline industry.
You've repeatedly said that there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, and watch the replies showing all the evidence that it is.
Replies, though, on social media or on Twitter are not necessarily fact and evidence.
No,
that's people's opinion.
They will cite in the replies to this. You will see how often the information is cited, showing that indeed there are significant cases where standards are lowered.
And I do hope that happens. I do hope that happens, and I look forward to it. And as you said, if you're wrong, then you're wrong, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
Yes.
Okay. So and I'm glad we're having this conversation, debate. This is what we should be doing, debating the issue. So if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and then that'll be proven in the thing, and you as well. But I just want to tell you that pilot that you talked about, in fact, was a woman pilot, landed the plane safely despite the major malfunction with the equipment. Boeing has taken responsibility for that incident, saying that it was caused by a faulty door panel. So I'm not sure what that had to do with lowering the standards for pilots when it was a faulty.
No, it's not lowering standards for pilots. It's the incentive structure. I believe at Boeing changed to include DEI as a fundamental executive incentive. But in my view, it should be purely about passenger safety.
Okay, but do you understand how by saying just that standards are being lowered, that you're implying that they're being lowered because people are less skilled and less intelligent, and you're talking about people of color and or women?
Look, I'm saying we should not lower standards.
Just incredible. Truly, truly incredible. He could try to weasel himself out of an answer, but he formed a pretzel in the process.
Even Elon Musk said, the doctors, the medical situation is getting really bad, because the DEI. So really, you mean the black doctors, a lot of the black contributions to medicine, like plasma and open heart surgery and all of the wonderful things that African Americans have contributed to medicine, that your people stole and claimed it for themselves. Lots of different people have contributed to medicine. But for you to say this DEI, which was, by the way, white women benefited the most out of DEI. White women benefited the most out of DEI. African Americans were probably, I think, last in benefiting from DEI. So all this blame of these white men constantly blaming DEI is just code word for racist bullshit.
Exactly. And that's how it should be taken time and time again when folks like Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Mark Wayne Mullen, Caroline Leavitt, and the rest of the fascists discuss this.
So, look, there's been a lot of discussion about the issues that were needed in the black community for the last years, but particularly it intensified after the George Floyd situation. And, you saw a lot of people who were just virtue signaling. They'd go on Instagram and cry, or they would, put a slogan on their jersey or write something on a basketball court. And quite frankly, that was doing more to polarize the country than it was to bring people forward. You solve problems with solutions.
In Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done?
Speaking of nepotism, legacy admissions, DEI, and protecting the ruling class.
Because we can go in academic stats. You all are not leading in academic stats. I'm not saying there aren't brilliant white students, but a lot of you are there because of legacy. Legacy. You didn't allow anybody to do a goddamn thing. And that's why DEI was put in place, because you just don't like people playing an even playing field. And then when you do play an even playing field, you start moving the goalposts and blaming. That's what's going on.
He's preaching here. And look no further than a guy like Jared Kushner being named an advisor to Trump's cabinet, a Middle East czar who would later enrich himself to the tune of $2 billion from the Saudis. And by the way, that's just one deal we know of, plus much more.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of the
I have a
first
plan
responders?
to visit, not the site, because you tell me, what's the site? The water?
Or to meet with the first responders.
What an ass. What a blathering ball of human flesh. The inhumane approach is paramount because he simply does not care about human life. He could give a about those who died because it does not affect him.
I just think it's really low that President Trump blamed Joe Biden on this collision. I think it's just really low down for him to do that, because Trump, you fired the heads of TSA and you fired Coast Guards and several members of a key aviation safety advisory committee. So what if it was your error? What if it was your error? I'm just saying, there's going to be a lot of crazy comments and whatever, Trump supporters, blah, 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 would saying some bullshit. But this is a we thing. It's a human thing. And people's lives have been lost, and you're pointing fingers at DEI. Come on, man. It's a shame. And you just started off this year on some real low-down shit. And I think that we're in big trouble with these kind of things that you're saying.
He's not wrong here, but this is how fascists work. We must keep our eye on the ball. We must organize. We must mobilize. For more on Godfrey, check out his YouTube channel. The URL is youtube.com/@GodfreyComic. His Facebook, if you wish to hop on Zuck's platform, we'll leave the link in the description box below, and TikTok under the username Godfrey Podcast.
Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYT Sports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.